Hey everybody, this is Z with Small Scale Development, and today is May 5th. Today I'm looking at the Washington Townhouses, and I met with the attorney a couple days ago and wanted to share thoughts there. So what I am looking at, originally the plan was for this all to be um, one property that we hold and rent each unit. But after thinking about some things, wanting to think about keeping debt lower because interest rates are considerably higher now. Rents are higher too, but interest rates are higher. So being able to pay off some of that debt, I'm looking at the possibility of converting these into condos, selling half of them and keeping half, or something to that amount. Um, and so I met with the attorney to see what some of the things we need to think about. And um, so um, we built them as townhouses with 2-hour firewalls. And so setting them up as condos or HPR, horizontal property regime, um, is how we would be able to sell them. So we don't need permission from the city to do that. So someplace you might need to do a lot split. I don't know for certain, different states may have different rules about condo HPRs, but um, I'll tell you kind of from at least from the Arkansas perspective, you may check and see what your state looks like, but it's probably somewhat similar. So the way it works is the HPR, the Condo Association, would own the property and all of the sort of common amenities, and then the individual who buys it, let's say they buy this unit, they would buy this unit, and they would own everything from wall to wall, and from ground to roof. Um, and so um, I think I'm not 100% certain, but I think that essentially if there was an issue with the foundation, because they're all attached, then that would be part of the HPR issue to deal with. If there was an issue with the roof, I think the same thing, that would be the HPR, because whatever happened with one roof could affect um, the neighbors. So the HPR would want to be sort of in control of that and be able to fix that. Then there's also the common areas, and they have sort of general common areas and limited common areas. So, for example, this right here would be a backyard, for fenced-in backyard. It's part of the common area because there's going to be utilities running through here but it's going to be, so if there was an issue with utilities and they had to dig it up, then it could be maintained by the condo association. But this will be limited common area, meaning that it's limited to just this unit. This porch similarly would be limited common area. It'd be, because it's exterior to the wall of the building, but it would be limited only for this unit. Then we've got all the landscaping plants. All of that would be common general common area that would be maintained by the HPR. We've got trash and recycling, same thing, owned by the condo association. The other thing that we looked at was the parking. So right here you can see this is where we were looking at doing carports. And my original thinking was that each unit would get one designated parking space, and maybe someone who got the carport, they would be charged a little more to buy the property. But what my attorney was talking about was maybe we just have the HPR owns all of this and designates the units, which space goes to which unit, and those could be changed over time, so that, let's just say someone really cared about having a covered parking, and that belonged to this unit here. If they go to sell it, the next person may not really care about having that, and one of the other units may want to, so they could switch it out. So what we would then do is have some sort of POA fee. So essentially condo fee. So essentially, I'm not sure what, but let's just say you pay an extra $100 to be able to park in this spot under the carport. And then there's one extra spot here. So maybe also you would pay an additional $100 a month if you want to have two parking spaces instead of one. And, maybe you have, otherwise you have to park your second vehicle on the street. And additionally, another thing that comes up is if we wanted to get, say, a electric vehicle charger. So we might put that out here, and then we'd have electric utility here, and that would be potentially paid by the pause. I'm going to pause this for a second. I'm going to close my door. Sorry about that. Dog's barking. And so one of the so if we had an electric vehicle charger, then the person who used it would be responsible for the utility. Maybe the electricity would be in the HPR's name if, let's say, multiple people wanted to use it. Additionally, we are looking at doing solar. I'll probably do another video on the solar as well, because I think that'll be interesting. But we've got trees right here, and this is the south side. So this one doesn't really have a lot of great solar exposure because of the tree. However, this one does. And these are the ones that we're actually looking at selling. So what we're thinking about doing is putting the solar on the roof. These two have more space for solar. These ones have hip roofs, so they don't have quite as much roof space. So we can put the solar on the roof. The roof, we can either have the solar be directly owned by each unit, or it could also be common HPR property, which is how I'm leaning towards now. And so we could say, let's just say we have 40 panels and we have 10 for each unit. Each one would get the benefit. It would go tie directly to their utility bill, and they would get the benefits of it. And they would also pay more for the property because it has a solar on it. What we can do also with the solar is, let's just say we have, 12 can fit on here and 8 can fit on here, 12 on here, 8 on here. Well, this one obviously would be getting less solar, but what we can do is actually have, if 12 are on here, we run 2 of these into this system. So this unit still gets 10 units worth of electricity, and this 10 and this 10 and this 10 as well. So they're all kind of spread out evenly, even though some of the panels might not be directly on the roof. And I think that will work particularly seamlessly if it's all owned by the HPR, but each unit kind of gets their, designated count. So that's something we're figuring out now. And once I get a little more clarity on the cost and benefits of the solar, I can do another video on that. Some of the other issues that have come up that we have to think about is short-term rentals. So that's a big issue, in our area, a lot of places, and whether that's beneficial or not. So people often are paying a lot more for property if they can do a short-term rental as opposed to a long-term rental, because they can generally make more. So if this goes to investors, then, and they want a short-term rental, they're going to pay more. So that's, beneficial on the front end, but whether that's beneficial for the community, both of the 8 units here, and then also I have, just with affordability, there's some issues on a, more neighborhood societal level with issues of housing affordability. So I think, it may make sense to be allowed to have one unit that does short-term rental, because we've got food trucks across the street. It just brings in some new life to the area. Things are changing. they're gonna, it adds a little variety, but if it's too much, then it just becomes, there's not really loss of really a sense of community because people are only in here for a couple days. So I've thought about limiting it to, say, 30 days or 60 days for, so someone has to live in there, but they can Airbnb it on certain weekends. We did that for another similar project as this, but after we sold them, the owners decided that they want to get rid of that restriction so they could sell them. It was a year and a half later, and people wanted to resell them, and the people buying them wanted to be able to do short-term rental. So I'm sort of curious about that, I guess. Additionally, so what the attorney thought is, if you have the ability to do a short-term rental, which is permitted at the discretion of the HPR Condo Association, so that if it got to be a distraction, for example, the HPR could vote and say, no, we don't want any short-term rentals, or maybe, one of the units is totally fine, all the people are respectful, but one of the other owners is, their tenants, they don't have any restrictions, or their tenants seem to be partying all the time. It would be possible to restrict that. And I asked whether there's any sort of fairness. We have to be, what works for one works for all. And he said, no, it's an HPR. You can set up the rules as you want them. So, and they can be changed. So that's possible. So that seems like a reasonable approach. Another thing that we looked at was right of first refusal. So if we go to sell, let's say we sell 4 of them, and then, later on we want to sell more, or one of these people wants to sell, do we have the right of first refusal to buy that property? And so we had that in one of the another property we did, and I remember one buyer was a little concerned about that. They didn't like that stipulation in there. It doesn't seem particularly onerous, because realistically, it's unlikely that someone in here is going to want to buy one of the other units. But I mean, they would have to still pay the whatever the going rate was, so it's not like they could just offer anything. So that seems like a reasonable approach. Let's see, trying to think what else. Another thing that I've been looking into is insurance. So if we were to do these as condos, each unit would have to have their own insurance, which covers kind of the interior of the property. Additionally, we would need to have a HPR policy that covers kind of the overall building, the overall property, that covers both liability for like a slip and fall, as well as just wind, hail damage, on the roofs or some sort of thing like that. So it covers sort of the property exteriors, as well as any sort of liability issue. Another thing that we looked at was the developer. Sometimes in developments, the developer chooses to control the POA until a certain number of the units are sold. So, maybe until half the units sold, or maybe until all of the units are sold, the developer controls the POA so they can make any changes that are needed as they go forward. So that's something that that the attorney was looking into. He wasn't clear whether you can do that in a typical POA for like a subdivision, but wasn't sure about for an HPR condo association if that's possible. I think it is, but something. And the other thing that we need to do is, if we're going to sell them, we need to think about what is the monthly fee that would be assessed to each condo unit. So some of the things we need to think about is the general insurance for the whole property, like I mentioned. Then we've got all this landscaping, so we need a landscaping budget for monthly maintenance, and we also need some sort of potentially a management slash bookkeeping fee. So if we've got billing of the members, how much are they, if they making sure that they're paying their monthly dues every month, and that also that we can pay for the landscaping, who's going to manage that. So that could be done by, let's say, the treasury of the HPR, Condo Association, or we could have it just managed by a manager bookkeeper, and in which case that would cost some amount of money. Additionally, there'll be taxes, property taxes. They'll be probably fairly minimal because it's most of the tax burden will be on the units themselves, but there may be some tax burden since we don't have like a common area with pools and et cetera that might add more, but there probably will be some. We also want a capital improvement budget or reserve. So if something happens, we have some sort of buildup if something happens that's not covered by insurance, for example. Let's just say there's settling of the concrete, and we need to redo the pathway, or let's say 5 years from now there's issues with the underground pipes and it's not covered, out of warranty, whatever it is, then that would need to be we need fund for that. Additionally, maybe outdoor lighting or water if we won't have any common. So we're thinking about having some lights potentially here or over the parking. And so that might, if we have a common meter, that might be something. And let's see. I think that's all we have for the total budget. So anyway, so that is sort of things that I've been thinking about and want you to think about. So for doing a condo HPR association. So it's a way that so I can't sell these by right individually, or can't sell them through their as individual lots through the cities. So because they need frontage, so only I could sell this whole building and this whole building, but I can't sell this unit and this unit and this unit separately unless I do it through this HPR Condo Association. And again, it doesn't need approval from the city, so it's sort of a separate ownership. So it makes it where we could get these, make money from these, pay off some debt there, put some money in our pocket, and then have these cash flow at a better, stronger amount. So anyway, I'll keep you updated, and hopefully I can do a solar panel breakdown when I get those in. So thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe. It helps keeps me motivated. Thanks.